Okay, I got one.
We're on.
Oh, so you got the flyer. Yeah, even the ones, cheap ones for next year.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start tonight's meeting off with a couple of public hearings here. The first one is going to be Du Bois Motors. Is there anybody here that wants to make any discussions about the Du Bois Motors? This is for the junkyard, right?
Yep. Yep. No junkyard.
Graveyard junkyard permit. Comments from the board, from the public on that? No? Okay, the next one is AIM Recycling, 2244 Portland Road. Okay, and then the last one is Gary's Auto Salvage. Any comment from the public on those? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. We will call our regular meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You like the text?
Okay,
It's a bad word, right?
first item is approval of agenda. Alterations, edits? I have a motion. Move we approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Public forum. This is the part of our agenda where anybody wants to, from the public, wants to make any comments on non-agenda items. This will be the only time during our meeting tonight that the public on non-agenda items can make comments. So, anybody have anything to say? Comments, questions? Okay. Approval of minutes, September 8, 2014.
On their regular meeting, under attending, apparently we had somebody named Thibodeau. We don't have a first name.
Bob.
Some
Okay.
different direction, get somebody.
It just says Linda Zook and then Thibodeau.
Just try, get some, they here, we get more training.
Yep, I will fix that.
Expect to see that, it's really boring.
I think that was the only thing I had.
If we do them as submitted or with the one correction, yes.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Committee and board reports.
Planning board will meet this Thursday, 25th at 7 p.m. here in the library. There will be a board and committee workshop with the town attorney on Wednesday, October 1st, 2014 at 7 p.m. here in the MLB School Library. Selectmen Du Bois will give us an update on the RSU 21 board meeting in regards to the decision to delay the construction referendum vote. And Selectman Jones Hayes will give us, I haven't done that yet before, so, no.
It's all right, Jones is my middle name. My last name's actually Hayes, so it's okay.
Bella will give us an update on the Rundle Heritage Day.
Yeah, that works.
And I also have a planning board report, so. I'll give the whole RSU school board meeting report. Approval of Lauren Thompson, science teacher at Kennebunk High School. Approval of Stacy Kalu as an alternate education teacher at Kennebunk High School. They approved Crystal Blaze as a 4th grade teacher at the Kennebunk Consolidation School. They discussed the resignation of Megan Taylor and the resignation of Glenn Black. Special presentations were done by each of the school principals on first week into school, how things are going. Mrs. Cressy at the high school stated that their enrollment was up to 692. They've got a Chromebook rollout scheduled for 9/18, and it was homecoming week. Jeff Rodman from the middle school stated the enrollment there was 522. They've had 2 open houses, and everything has gone very well. KES, enrollment there was 434, and their open house was September 23rd. Steve Markey at the Sea Road School stated the enrollment there was 271, and the open house there went exceptionally well and was extremely well accepted. Mildred L. Day enrollment was up to 231. Also, the open house there was very successful, and kind of a consolidated school. He didn't state the enrollment, but he was very pleased with how the school looked. They've done a lot of work over the summer, painting, cleaning, and the school looked very, very well, and they were very pleased about it. The consideration of a warrant article related to the building renovation project, as most of you probably already know, there is an $8 million gap. The chairman, Maureen King, kind of read a statement, and she suggested that they not approve for a November warrant and shoot for a June warrant article instead. There was questions, on what exactly is the gap, and they're working those between Harriman Associates and Sigley, I think is it. So they're working those to try to figure out exactly what the gap is. Let's see, finance. Interim between that time, they had met with a financial consultant and looked at the 20-year bond over a 25-year bond, and they made a determination that they're going to go with a 25-year bond. However, they're going to reevaluate after all the numbers have been all decided and get that stuff all squared away. School board chair update. September 18th was a candidates night at YCCC. They won a team trendsetter, or they've gotten a team trendsetter grant. It's a Barbara Bush Foundation, and what they do is they have some reading activities with the elementary school partners with high school students, and kind of get kids into reading. TAMS, they're doing their late start Wednesday. That starts at 9:30. Stuff the Bus is in late October time frame. That's where they fill the bus over in Kennebunk with food, and they bring it over to St. Martha's Church. That has gone very well, and they're looking forward to that again. Friday, September 26th is a super walk at the middle school, and the Mildred Day Fall Walkathon is October Thursday night, and they adjourned at 7:40 p.m. That was the September 15th meeting. Planning Board, September 11th meeting. The discussion of the Gateway District, that's the northern end of Route 1 coming in from Biddeford. They had a lot of discussion about that. One of the items was, I know a lot of people apparently don't know this, but the Arundel line is actually, on the other side of the bridge, and there was concern on why is the sign, welcome to Arundel, over. So they discussed maybe talking with the folks and moving that sign closer to the Arundel line. There's a large piece of property that when you go over the bridge, it's on the westerly side that abuts the railroad, and there was concern that they want to make sure that the Gateway District doesn't impede access to that lot. There's some wetlands there, but it's a good piece of lot that if somebody wanted to build something there and have access to the railways, really the only place in Arundel that has it, so they wanted to make sure that they don't mess that up. They were going to talk about some design standards, but the board felt it was better to get some abutters and property owners there and talk with them before they get into design standards, and before they get into design standards. The next item was review possibly a new format for the land use ordinance. There was a discussion on how to set up the ordinance so that it can be not on one warrant item. They want to kind of modularize it so that you have the base ordinance, and then you just plug in the modules for the different zones, and maybe town manager can discuss a little bit more about this. I know there was talk about maybe getting somebody else to help do that. I don't know if you have any more information on that.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I spoke to Lee J. Feldman again today at Southern Maine Planning and Development Council. We sent them a rough outline of what the new format would look like, and a copy of the Word document of our ordinances. They're going to get back to me and let me know exactly what that will take, what it would cost the town to have them do that. I did speak with Leah, I do believe I emailed the Board of Selectmen on this. Technically, we could vote to just, technically we could just change the ordinance into the new format without any vote if we didn't change anything else. Her opinion was that it would probably be better received if we could do a vote on the new format, not changing anything. Assuming this happens, all that happens at town meeting, then all subsequent warrant articles that deal with land use ordinances would be subject to the approval of the first land use ordinance. So I should, at the next meeting, I'll have a cost estimate. I'll have the ability to talk to the planning board about how they would like to move forward to change the format, and I'll give you an update at the next selectment meeting.
So the way that the ordinance, that Tad had started to rewrite the ordinance, is pretty close to that now. You know, he had set it up so that you have kind of the general stuff, and then each section, you know, was, you know, the DB1, the DB2, where you could just kind of plug that in, and his intent was when somebody came to the board, to him, for something in a DB1, he could just pull that section and hand it out. So I don't think there's really all that much work to do to get it set up that way.
Shouldn't be too
So, okay. Planners report, Don DeKendron gave an update on where the comprehensive plan committee is. We've got a couple of vacant parcels where there are possibly some new tenants coming in. We have 3 more private way exemptions. At the staff level, they're looking at a business expansion. There's also some discussions about an age restriction community, 6 or 7 lots, that's in the works. And I made the comment that Ann will no longer be the secretary after 12 years?
12 years.
After 12 years, she's decided that she's done it before. So my hats off to her. She's done an exceptional job in 12 years of taking a minute. So. And they adjourned at 8:30 p.m. One of the quicker meetings. Okay.
Rundle Heritage Day. Well, of course, we don't charge admission, it's free. So we really don't know how many people are there, but if the number of cars that were parked in the different parking areas was any indication, then we had a very good turnout. I know that our hospitality tent, we set up one tent with old pictures and benches, and we had people show up and that could recognize the people in those old pictures. We had a lot of them identified. We had one family, the 3 boys came, their mother, who was still living, was one of our teachers at, I don't remember which school she was at, North Chapel, I think.
Wow.
Did Mrs. Dumas teach at North Chapel School?
No, Gracie's Smith.
Then it must have been, where was she?
Mrs. Dumas?
Yeah,
Wasn't she,
was she at Irving?
over by Walker's?
Yeah, Irving. And that tent was busy all day with people looking at pictures and talking to people. We had some vendors, of course, from Arundel, and everybody just seemed to have a very good time. So I know Charlie and I were kept busy with the hot dogs. They went over very well. I didn't think we'd ever stop something hot dogs. And of course, we're going to do it again next year. So, I think it's this weekend. This weekend, since the big tent is up there, we're going to have a yard sale up there. So if anybody would like to come by, the Arundel Historical Society is going to be having a yard sale up there on the site. The tent's already up.
Okay, moving on to new business. Item A, Selectmen approve and sign renewal of AIM Recycling Automobile Graveyard Junkyard Permit located at 2244 Portland Road.
We have all of the approvals, so I make a motion that we sign the permit for AIM Recycling.
A motion, we have seconded, any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item B, Selectmen approve and sign renewal of Du Bois Motors Automobile Graveyard Junkyard Permit located at 2 Irving Road.
Same thing, we have all of the approvals and everything from everyone. So I make a motion that we sign the one for Du Bois Motors.
Second. Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item C, Selectmen approve and sign renewal of Gary's Auto Salvage Automobile Graveyard Junkyard Permit located at 258 River Road.
Same thing, I think we have all of the necessary checks, and I make a motion that we approve the permit for Gary's.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, item D, Fire Chief discussion with Selectmen on consensus of the members of the Arundel Fire Rescue in regard to the substation and the anticipated costs of repair.
We'll let the chief take this one from the get-go, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Floor is all yours, Chief.
We had a meeting last Monday night that I had sent out a text for, and everybody that was interested could show up. And all the people were there. There was never any discussion about not keeping it. So the department itself, or the members would like to see it stay within the department so we can still use it. Some of the reasoning is that we don't all have a lot of storage here next door. Well, no, not next door, I'm sorry, down the road. So it's a place to keep things. And I said originally that if we thought, or if the board thought sometime in the next 5 to 7 years, we were going to need a building, it doesn't make any sense to get rid of this one and build a new one. We've already got one. And we do have a couple of people down in that area, so we're hoping maybe through in the next few years, we'll be able to put a truck down there and it'll be able to respond from there. So I did talk to the CEO about septic and water, and where I'm saying basically it'll be kind of like a storage type building, then we would not need to have any kind of a bathroom facility or any of that. As soon as we change the use of it to more like putting people down there or the people around, then that would have to change. But right now, we figure we're at status quo, so.
There's no septic or water down there?
There is.
There is, but it's very antiquated and the water is not usable. The water really smells bad. I mean, matter of fact, I shut the water off about 7 years ago down there. It just, you walk in and it just gags you.
Is there a toilet down there?
There is a 12 down there.
So it was suggested that we remove that if we keep the building, so.
So the water smelly because it's just been sitting, or?
Very possible. Maybe we could flush it out.
Sulfur smell? Or-
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible we can flush it out and still use it, but we haven't used it in like 7 years now, so.
I don't think we drink it. I was thinking if we could use it at least to wash the truck or something, if we had one down there, would be nice.
Paint it like that.
What happened with the oil leak right now?
The bottom of the tank had blown out of it.
That's all fixed and cleaned
Yeah.
up?
It's got a brand new furnace and tank.
It had drains in the floor, and that was part of the DEP deal. We had to remove the drains out of it and redo the floor and block all the drains and stuff, but it's got a brand new oil tank, brand new furnace down there. Furnace was donated by Don Pyer. He had it in his garage and he gave it to us. So we got a perfectly good heating system down there, but the building is so untight that we can't heat it. We're just wasting money, so.
I wouldn't suggest that we try to heat it without doing some repairs. And I talked to Todd a little bit about the other day. It's not in this year's budget to do that. So it would be another year before we could do it. But I mean, we do send the brush truck down there, or we used to, drain it all down and everything. But with the squad gone, we could probably keep that here. But the general consensus of everybody was there, was in favor of keeping it. And then doing some repairs and stuff to it over whatever the board felt was a period of time.
Do you have any magnitude of cost for?
I actually do. I actually had a guy come in this summer, Mr. Doobie, Steve Doobie out of Lyman. I tried to start with, I kind of went out of the town so I wouldn't get any get anybody's feelings hurt one way or the other, whether they were in favor or in favor. And if you add it up total, I think, he went, and I had him go for the best. Get it all done, get it all fixed up and everything. And I think the total was around 30,000. But there is, I had him break it down so you can do, there's a lot of things you can do just to tighten it up that wouldn't cost that much. As far as, he said the roof is bad, right up front, says the roof is terrible. And the doors need to be fixed because there's spaces between them and you can't heat them. And half the building doesn't have a sheetrock on it. Those to me are the major things that have to be taken care of first. And then obviously this is just an estimate. You would have to actually get somebody down there to go to take a look, and I'm sure there's people in town who do it. So there wouldn't be any favoritism one way or the other. I went to somebody out of the area, so we wouldn't have any ties to it. So.
Steve's estimate wasn't through the RFP process, it was just more of an
Right.
idea of what it
Right.
cost.
Just-
We're looking at about 15,000 for the roof and the doors, to replace all the doors. But if you break down the cost estimate that he gave us, which is fairly reasonable from what I've seen, we're looking at about $10,000 to winterize the building, insulate it, sheetrock it, that would be painting the interior. So he gave us, the quote was around $4,000 to paint it, so about $7,000 to insulate it and sheetrock it so that we can heat it again. Like the chief said, it wasn't in the budget for this fiscal year, I wouldn't propose heating a building that's not fully insulated because we're just blowing the oil right out of that building. But during the budget discussions, if the board of selectmen are in favor of moving forward, that'll be part of the budget process this coming fiscal year to at least start picking away at some of the repairs down there are relatively inexpensive. Fascia boards that are, rotted through, to replace the fascia boards, wrap the aluminum, things like that, which are kind of basic costs. But when we get inside and want to start buttoning it up, it's going to cost a little bit of money. So we'll put that in the budget, see if it'll pass for this coming year.
Well, some of that stuff, painting, you have a painting party or something.
Exactly.
That goes a lot.
Everybody loves
Even
painting.
fascia boards and stuff like that, so that's not very hard to do.
Yeah.
It's not leaking now, is it?
There's some water coming in from some.
Outside, I guess.
Would it be prudent to tarp over the roof for the winter?
Maybe not tarp, but get a big bucket or tar and
Something.
find where it's leaking, yeah.
We won't be
Yeah,
storing anything.
exactly. Because there was enough water on the floor last year that it actually froze. And it froze, the two doors down at the back were froze because the water was seeping underneath it.
Chimney exterior, or is it run up through the roof? The lead
No, I
flashing.
think it's- I don't think it's in-
It's up to the roof.
Is it?
Yeah.
We'll get PW down there to try to nail down where that water leak is coming from, we'll get that stopped, for sure.
Is there any work being done on Central Station this year to help winterize that better?
No, I didn't, well, I put some money in the maintenance budget,
Yeah, we're gonna do the every year thing, new strips underneath the doors and stuff, which we do every year. At some point, we're gonna have to do something with those concrete pads by the walk-through doors. Because when the frost comes in, those pads pick up and that wipes out our
Doors and open,
seals, so.
right?
yeah.
In the next couple of years, that's gonna need all new doors in it.
And the vent leaks quite a bit in the back of the garage.
The vent needs some work too. That back wall's in pretty bad shape.
I'm not sure what's gonna be inside that wall once we open it, that's my concern.
Just seems foolish to dump money into the substation when Central Station needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
Central station's a tank job.
I don't think it's been painted since I've been on the department, and that's been
Yeah,
No,
and-
didn't you say didn't you say the
outside.
yacht house
Yeah.
outside?
the outside has, the town crew did it.
I don't remember there was any painted since it was.
Yeah.
10 years ago?
The outside was fine.
No, it's wood.
No,
Oh, it's wood?
Wood,
Yeah,
brick and then wood.
pan, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, but the town crew did paint that. And I don't remember exactly how long it was, but. Well, it was when we did the bedrooms for the per diem program, that building got painted.
I think one of the budget committee members brought up last year about putting money away towards the roof too over the next 4 or 5 years. It's not needing any repair yet, but she didn't want to see us get hit all of a sudden. And to put some away every year.
So it won't be long, we'll be talking about the budget here, so obviously you want to keep the central station in mind and.
Right.
And sure we take care of that first, but
Yep, no,
we
that's
see all those numbers and start taking care of our buildings here, so.
And I think the thought for the members and stuff was they just wanted the selectmen to know they would like to see the building kept. Now, repair cost is just a matter of when it can be done. So like I said, and, you know, I told Todd before, it makes no sense to me to put any heat down there at all until you at least tighten it up. Whether it's this year, next year, whatever, it would be a waste of taxpayers' money as far as I'm concerned.
Have the landowners made any preference or suggestions of any kind as to
They'd like to have it back.
they want to have that, right?
I mean, that was one of the first people I met when I came to town.
Yeah. They have no problem, the landowner, with us keeping the building?
As long as it's being used as a fire department / station, they have no problem with it. If we don't take care of it and we don't use it for the purpose that it was intended, they would want to see it back.
Yeah. Well, that was the original agreement.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So long as it remained a fire station in some way, shape, or manner, then the town was permitted to stay on that property.
Didn't Mr. Larry say last week it was in the 50s or something?
Yep.
That was done.
Yeah,
So
sometime in the 50s,
So we
that's
still
a
got another-
99-year lease.
Another 50 years or 40 years on the lease.
It was in the 50s for sure.
Okay, anything else from the board on this item? Okay, moving on to item E, fire chief update on the RFP process for the replacement ambulance.
Yeah, the only thing is, after the last meeting, I think, and I had mentioned the last meeting, and I think we should really consider going that way, is trading the ambulance we have now in to cut the cost. There also is a new monitor that the intermediates and paramedics use. It's 15 right now. It's a Life Pack 15.
Life Pack 15.
Is the newest monitor, and it would be in our best interest, I think, to buy it at the same time as we buy an ambulance, because I think we can get a better deal. The problem is that they're not cheap. But that being said, is the vendor who come in and I talked to him about the new monitor and stuff, also does trade in, so we could actually trade in our monitor, again, to save money. So that would be the only things I would add, other than hopefully we can get the specs and stuff back to the town manager so we can get it to the selectmen here right off. I did get an email from one of the vendors that said they are now looking at 10 months turnaround if we order it. So that's why I'd like to try to get back very soon to you, and then you can make the decision one way or the other. Information is still coming,
Okay.
still working on it.
Anybody else got any comments? Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Selectmen award bid for the 2005 Chevy Impala, funds to be deposited in Public Works Capital Equipment Reserve account.
We did receive a single bid for the 2005 Chevy Impala, 154,000 miles. The bid was $300. In the interest of full disclosure, the bidder on that vehicle was a town employee's son. Not that that has any bearing on that decision, but I just figured that I would make that apparent. Speaking of Brian, who's the town mechanic, there's a check engine light on, there's just a bunch of, small issues with that vehicle that make it, plus the donation of the Yukon by Martha Groom. Town employees like the Yukon a lot better than they like what we dubbed the loser cruiser. So I would recommend that the Board of Selectmen accept the bid for $300 and send the Impala down the road.
So moved. Okay, I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Selectmen award bid for 1988 Chevrolet ambulance to be deposited in the fire department capital equipment reserve account.
We did receive two bids. One did not qualify on the ambulance. We got a bid for $225, and we got a bid for, fortunately Marty had the dollar figure, and he went on that, but Marty Adams did bid $500 cash, and he offered to donate to the town $3,500 worth of tree work. He's got a tree business now. In his quote, he estimated that the $3,500 credit for the licensed arborist tree removal and services includes 2 8-hour days with 3 arborists, 55-foot bucket truck, and a 13-inch chipper as part of his bid. I'm going to speak to Roger about that and see if we can't make a deal with Unitil to get them out there and do some trimming along the trail. Most of the tree work that the town does, Roger and the crew do on their own, or in conjunction with Claremont Light and Power or Central Maine Power. So I would recommend that the selectmen award that bid for $500 and the $3,500 credit to Marty Adams and Son Tree Services, unless you would like to take into consideration the request for donation of that to Mid-Coast
School of Technology.
School of Technology. I included the email in your packet, and I guess that's up for the board's consideration, but the winning cash bid would be Marty Adams, who's an Arundel resident.
Comments from the board about that?
Well, unfortunately, even though I'd like to be able to donate it, I don't think that financially we can afford to.
If-
I don't think we can spend the public's money elsewhere, and that's what we'd be doing. No, sorry, Phil.
Would a donation of that vehicle do us any good down the road?
No, it would not. Oh, well, maybe in terms of goodwill, but we don't get a tax write-off for the donation, so there would be, goodwill and a gesture that may or may not be repaid in the future. But there's no monetary value to the town.
Well, I think if it was just the $500, at that point, we could maybe, think about it a little bit more, but he's offering quite a bit more work that could be very useful for the town. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I hear a motion from anybody on the board?
Well, that being said, I'd make a motion that we award the bid to Marty Adams.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right. Item H, selectmen approve expenditure of $2,708 from the contingency capital reserve for reimbursable seasonal cottages tip legal fees.
This is the next installment of the seasonal cottage tip fees. The developer is up to date, except for this invoice. They've streamlined the process. There was a 2-month waiting period when we got the first one, and then these most recent ones are coming almost the same week. So we're glad they've streamlined the process, and they have come through on their promise.
Okay. Motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item I, form selectmen planning board approval process discussed in regards to land use ordinance amendment changes.
We pretty much covered that in the board and committee reports. I will email you as soon as I have an idea of Southern Maine Planning and Development Council's timeframe, to see how much work it will be. But after hearing the feedback from the public, seeing how the process went last time, I think it would be in the best interest of the planning board and the town if we want the new ordinances to pass, to actually change that format of change our current ordinance to the new format so that we can move forward with a repeal and replace of each section. There's a better chance of increased communication, increased transparency, and I just don't have a whole lot of faith that a single repeal and replace is ever going to make it through town meeting.
I certainly don't want that. Okay, I'm good. Item J, inform selectmen of lawsuit filed against the town of Arundel and Public Works driver Joshua Allen as a result of an accident that occurred on December 25th, 2012.
Just as such, this is covered by our insurance. Trident Insurance Company is assigning defense attorneys to the town and to Mr. Boulay personally, and we'll keep you posted as the details unfold. comments I want to, because I guess they're inappropriate, but I don't believe that the town was at fault in this situation.
Didn't the insurance company decide, or the insurance companies, whoever, decided that the town wasn't at fault?
That they denied the claim
Yeah.
over a year ago.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this unfolds.
Okay. Item K, Selectmen consideration of seasonal cottages ordinance changes and whether to place a ballot in a referendum election or hold a special town meeting.
It would be my recommendation to hold a special town meeting. As I indicated to you in my memo, there's a good chance when somebody goes in the ballot box that they might not necessarily know what it is that they're voting on. I think it's wise for us to hold a special town meeting and actually be able to have this conversation, hold public hearing, so that people understand exactly what it is that's being voted upon. Mr. Pelini has requested that the board dispose of this item at their as quickly as they feel comfortable. If the board decides to move forward and go with a special town meeting, we'll get everything in order, and we can call that special town meeting and try to get that approved.
How soon do you think we'd have this formatting issue sorted out?
I was hoping that all of that could happen right after the November election, possibly do both of those simultaneously so that we don't have to, there'll be a lot less confusion at the actual town meeting in June. So hopefully, once Lee J and Paul have seen the ordinance and the format, they can let me know how long it'll take, and I think that those would tie in well together and try to get those taken care of in one special town meeting.
Doesn't he wants to do some marketing, right? And he can't do marketing.
He can't, we had an interesting conversation today with himself, myself, his attorney, our attorney. He can't really start marketing until the state has approved the TIF. And the state has not approved that TIF yet. I don't know if he's still on that track. I wasn't able to discuss that with him because of the nature of the rest of the conversation. But I can check with Joe and see if he's still on that time, in that time frame when he plans to roll it out. We can try to coordinate both issues to have it as soon as possible.
Yeah, so he wants this way before the town doing the ordinance. Are you thinking about doing it at the same time as the ordinance changes?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're doing it right after the November election,
Yeah.
I don't know what our first meeting would be after that, or if we coordinate with our meeting, or just do it as a special town meeting, but I think that would dovetail into his prelude,
But not the actual ordinance changes, but the change of format.
just the format.
So if we could take the current ordinance, get it in the new format, SMPDC thought they could turn that around fairly quickly. So if we could do that changeover in a couple of weeks and get all of that information out there and do them at some point fairly soon, then that would be
So
better.
you're thinking before the end of the year
Yep.
timeframe?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going into next year,
Yeah.
I don't think this suits what he's looking
No,
at.
and I'll check again with Joe. We're gonna have a conversation again tomorrow. We kinda had to rush things this afternoon. And I'll try to get a feel for Joe when he's gonna roll that out.
On this paper you sent us, under seasonal parking area or lot, it says for a period of up to 6 months between May 1st and December 31st. That's, yeah, more than 6 months?
Should be 8 months.
Wouldn't that be 8 months?
It should be 8 months.
Yeah.
And that was a strike
Yeah.
through that they
October
missed.
now.
Yeah. Everything else says 8,
I will have them update that as well.
okay?
Okay, item L, discussion with selectmen on recommendations in regards to limit road appraisal as well as potential fees associated with obtaining accurate information for said proposal.
Once again, we met with George Koulakis, Sterling Appraisal. He says we're gonna be hard pressed to come even close to that number. And so depending on how close we wanna come to that number, we'll decide how much money we wanna spend. If we wanna take a full appraisal at the town meeting, the full appraisal ballpark figure will be $2,500 for that appraisal. In order for that appraisal to be accurate, George would recommended that a survey and a wetland delineation be done on the property. Survey and wetland delineation can be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Haven't gotten a solid figure because people don't like telling me what they're going to charge because I have to send it out to RFP anyway. So for the parcel that we're looking at, which the per acre cost, like he said, that's per acre costs out of Massachusetts, per acre costs out of Cape Elizabeth if they're lucky waterfront. We're not going to come close to that number. So do we want to go to a town meeting with very limited information and try to convince people that we want to have this property for the future value? Do we want to have all the information available, spend the money, and take that to town meeting? I know we've discussed this several times. I'm kind of tired of discussing it myself. I'd like to be able to move on with something. So what is the pleasure of the board? That, you know, spending $20,000 to have that property appraised, surveyed, and wetland delineation would pretty much better be fairly certain that the public's going to approve it, just because that's a big chunk of change. We're going to run into the same issue we had last year. Winter's coming. Don't believe the property's going to sell in the middle of winter. I've asked Steve to see if he could do a survey of the parcel that he's split off, so that we can enter into a purchase and sale agreement if the board is willing to do that. That all depends on his partner, and I'm waiting to hear back as to whether or not they're going to survey that property, or they're just going to do a deed with no survey. They're going to split off 2 acres, sell the house. The house is on the market but has not been surveyed. The well has been moved. But we are asking the public to approve purchase of a piece of land that the appraiser is telling us isn't worth the money. If another option is, we get all that work done and we make him an offer as to what we come up with. There's no guarantee he's going to accept the offer. From what I've heard in conversations with him, they more than likely won't accept an offer for less than they're asking. And so that's the big question is, do we spend that money to have that work done and hope that the public will approve that purchase?
I'm not willing to do it.
No.
Okay. Do we go to the town meeting with nothing?
No.
Okay, so do we meet somewhere in the middle, or the other option that I had offered was, as George suggested, find a realtor, ask him, solicit property owners on the Limerick Road who don't have their property for sale and may be interested in doing so. So you may find with that, you're going to get a property that has a residence on it, that you could split off, town could either auction it, do something with the residence, and use the parcels. There are a few parcels that I suggested that were a possibility on the Limerick Road in that very area. I briefly spoke with Judy Andrews about this, who's a realtor that lives in Arundel, just to get her feel, and she said, you know, people are often taken aback when somebody offers them money for land that's not for sale. She said, but a lot of times it'll work, and you can find a piece, and I guess we start on the Limerick Road because that's what the survey said, and that's what where people identify with the town of Arundel, in my opinion. Start soliciting property owners to see if there's any property out there that people are willing to sell.
Start right across the street.
Directly across. I could have that conversation myself.
There's a need there.
But if that's the will of the board, the next meeting, hopefully I'll have an answer as to what the realtor was able to find, and I will actually have that conversation personally with that property owner across the street.
Yeah, if we're going to end up, bottom line, that's the only lot in the area that's for sale, we know it's too much money. I mean, we know it's more than the appraised value, but I know of other land in Arundel that's been sold for more than the appraised value.
Yeah.
Because of location, because of the size of the parcel, because of, you know, the future uses for the parcel. But we want to know we've covered everything.
Absolutely.
But I think that our people that are working out of that town hall deserve something just as soon as we can get moving. You know?
Absolutely.
But again, we need to cover all the bases.
Location is worth a good amount of money also.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
That's an old location.
Most certainly.
But to Velma's point, you know, property sold for more than what it appraised at. That's all fine, but there were probably certain things that were done to know that. And we don't know on this piece of property. We gotta spend an additional $20,000 to find out if that's really the case. And again, I mean, I don't wanna pay more. I mean, we sat back here and said, Monday morning quarterback age, we should have bought that piece of property, years ago, but back then it was expensive. This is not just expensive, this is more than what it's valued. To me, those are two different scenarios, so. We talked about taking some pieces off of that. Would he entertain making an offer on a 2 or 3 acre parcel? I mean, if that's something,
Didn't he say no, he wants to
There
sell?
I
was-
can't remember.
There was an offer for the town to just buy the 6-acre field at about 75% of the cost of the entire lot. There was a discussion that was had about the town putting in a right-of-way to be accessed, and they would still be asking over 50% of what the entire lot was worth. And so there's really no move for every avenue I've tried to take to try to come to some sort of agreement. It sounded like they'd rather sit on the land and hope somebody's gonna purchase it.
Yeah, they don't need to sell,
Yeah. So,
not in case of needing to sell.
Well, I mean, I still wanna throw that away, that piece of property. I mean, we ought to let him know that, yeah, we're interested, but his price has gotta come down. If his price comes down to something that's reasonable, we'll entertain it, but at this point, to me, it's way too much.
I most certainly will have that conversation.
That's just me, I don't know if the board feels the same.
No, I mean, he and I have been on that same page for a long time. And his partner, like you said, his partner has the funds, doesn't need to sell the property, and is willing to sit on it for future use, so. We'll have that conversation with the property owner, and I will speak to the other property owner that you mentioned, Phil. And if none of those work, I'll anyway speak to the realtor to see what we can't find a piece of property that people might be interested in selling.
Yeah, we get the word out that, I think we do, we're looking for property.
Oh, yeah.
on Plymouth Road. Nobody's coming.
Nobody's come forth. One property owner on the Mountain Road did come forth, but was only interested in leasing us the building. They would build the building and lease it back to us. The reason for that is to be able to hold wedding events and things like that. Not allowed in that zone, I believe. But short of that, that's the only valid offer we've been made.
That's an interesting partnership.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Item M, inform the selectmen of resignation of Jack Reese from the Board of Assessment Review.
This has been fun. The appellant, I have to share this with you, because the appellant found out that Mr. Reeds is from the same town, spent many years living in the same town that our assessor grew up in. So it turned into a big conspiracy theory. There were 45 questions that Mr. Reeds was expected to answer, and Jack said, at my age, I don't have the time or the energy to answer these questions. I am going to resign from the board at this time. After this has been weighed in on, he says, I'll be more than happy to be appointed. So this evening you will be appointing Mr. Sfredo to the Board of Assessment Review, hopefully. That will populate the board, and we will hopefully be able to hold this meeting finally. We have been given the requisite extensions from the applicant, and he has been very understanding.
How many members we got on the board now?
We've got 3 now.
We have 3.
Yeah, we started with 3, and we've got 3 again.
And there are no 40 questions for Mr. Sfredo to have to answer?
Not yet. I hope Paul Sfredo does not come from Acton, Massachusetts. I can tell you that right now. I really hope.
Okay. Feeding into the next item, selecting to appoint Paul Sfredo to the Board of Assessment Review.
He's interested, he's willing, and he's able, and he seems to be a very organized individual. So I would recommend that Mr. Sfredo be appointed.
So move.
Any discussion?
What's this application? You can read what? Did you see that?
Prince. It said,
I was trying to figure that out.
so yeah.
Ability to read these?
Blueprints.
Oh, blueprints. Yes, his initial, this was an application for the planning board years ago. And
Oh,
so, you can read blood pressure. You really can take the pulse of the board.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Item O, inform selectmen of posting of a part-time position for minutes taken from planning board and other boards as required.
This is after Ann's resignation. I looked into other employees who might be interested or willing to do this task. And I asked around to other towns, Berwick, South Berwick, Gunkwit, York, Wells, some boards and committees in Kennebunk, they hire part-time minute takers. I haven't even posted the job yet, and I've already gotten 2 resumes in regards to interest in doing this. I haven't spoken to Simone yet as to whether or not, I believe she would like to keep her position as the clerk at the meetings, but this would be very helpful for any other board other than the selectmen, and it would save quite a bit of money to do it this way. So, like I said, I've got two interested parties. I'm gonna throw it out there on the main municipal website tomorrow morning. Let that go for a few weeks. Ann's taking the minutes from video and from audio right now. And I believe that we will be very successful, and I think we should be able to find somebody who can do a really good job at it.
And then cover all boards?
That would cover all boards, yes,
Except
other than the
us.
Board of Selectmen. Absolutely.
We're keeping Simone.
Yeah.
Please pass on to Ann, thank you.
Yes.
Over the 12 years, I
Yeah.
think she's done an awesome job, it's gonna be missed.
Absolutely. I told her about the gesture that the planning board, they all waved and said bye to her in the camera, and,
Yeah.
you know, I think, I've seen it wearing on her, you know, for the last 6 months or so, and she was just very honest with me. She said, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I just don't want to do it anymore. And I guess I can't say I blame her, you know.
Fair enough.
Fair enough is right, so, thank you very much, Ann, but she will be moving on. And I did have a few towns who said, you know, the state law only says you need to have a recording. I said, yeah, that would go over really well on Arundel. I think we'll keep keeping minutes. Yeah, just go to the website, watch the video, and let us know where you heard what you're talking about. But I think we'll continue to have the minutes.
Okay, item P is review and sign the AP warrant.
So move.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries. Old business. Tentative seasonal, Arundel seasonal cottage response to the CEA proposal.
That'll be at the next meeting. I did have a conference call with Shauna, Joe, Rick Shanae, who's Joe's attorney, and Jim Demesis this afternoon. We wrapped up about 5 o'clock. We should have everything available for the next meeting. Joe may or may not ask to come and negotiate with the attorneys in executive session, but I think we're going to be able to get there. One of the issues was some language that referred to company property. And it was unintentional, but once the unit is built, it belongs to the condominium owner. And so that was going to give them a quickly diminishing TIF, because every time they sold one, it'd be less and less value. So they cleared up that language. Now we're trying to work on possibly a force majeure clause or something in regards to the deadline that was given in the development plan.
Yeah.
So we should have that for us at the next meeting.
I finally got to read this.
Yes?
I got a couple of, I don't know, questions or comments. But,
Okay.
and I know you don't have it with you.
I don't have it with me.
But in the first recital here, it has, says the town will authorize the town manager to execute budget enhancement agreement. I'm not sure that that's what happens.
It is not.
And something that troubles me is that, as I understand this, when within 30 days of the tax date, the
Yes.
payments are due, we write a check to him for whatever the,
It says 30 of the...
following the tax payment date.
Payment date.
Right.
So there'll be checks being issued as we roll along. If they're paid in a staggered manner, we're not gonna pay out everything that's, let me let you finish your thought, because that was my thought as I read a section of it.
Well, the tax payment date is going to be either in April or October, correct?
The due date will be April or October, yes.
Right, so it's presumably that's when the taxes will be paid or around that period of time.
Yeah,
And then within 30 days of that date, we are supposed to write a check to him.
yes.
There's no controls here whatsoever,
Okay,
from what I can see. In other words, we don't get to see what, he just gets a check, You know, as I said in the last meeting, go to Brazil with it, for all we know. There's nothing tied to what he's doing on the project. You know, no invoices, no bills, no estimates, etc. And then all we get after that is annually in April is some report
Okay.
about what's going on. Now, I don't know why, if we're gonna pay out twice a year, why don't we get at least 2 reports? So we can see what's been going on, and at least, you know, if the first payment's in April, come October, we get a report of what's happened at least. Because, as I said, there's no control here. Presumably the money's going where it's supposed to go, but
And
once it's out the door, it's gone.
we don't get it back, doesn't matter what they do
No.
with it after that.
And I don't understand why an event of default isn't the failure of them to pay their taxes. It's under 5.1.
Okay, it is not.
No. And it should be, I think. And I think bankruptcy ought to also be an event of default, and it's not.
Okay,
And under remedies, I think one of the remedies ought to be for us to declare the agreement null and void. And that's not here.
okay.
Now, I don't do this kind of work, so I have no idea whether
Nope, I will bring that to your attention for sure.
but that's, as I said, that just troubled me when I read that.
Absolutely, let me,
Just we have to monitor some of this stuff. I mean, the money's going out the door.
absolutely, we should be able to answer, you should be able to answer the taxpayers as to where
Yeah.
that money's going.
Where's it going? I mean, it's going out the door and nothing's happening down there. I mean, somebody's gonna be asking us what's going on.
Absolutely. And we'll bring those to Sean.
What do you guys do? No, anyway.
Yep, we'll get those answers to
I would have had
that.
last time, but I should know, we didn't have this one.
Yeah.
Someone-
Okay, does the board have any other business they want to bring up?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion to adjourn at 7:57. All those in favor? Motion carries. Camera?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Trying to get the camera touch.